What's going on, everybody? My name is Brian. Today I'm going to be sharing with you guys how you can start your own virtual staffing company, or if you don't want to start a virtual staffing company and you just want to incorporate virtual staffing into your own business, this is going to be the video for you. However, before I get right into it, I just wanted to share a quick update with what we're doing right now. And like in my last videos, I mentioned that we were going to get a warehouse. So I just wanted to share that, but I will put a timestamp where you can skip everything that I'm about to say right now and go straight into the virtual staffing content. But if you're interested in the update and what other business that we're in, definitely watch this portion of it. But again, if you don't want to, I'll go ahead and put the timestamp on where you can skip right into it, or I'll have a timeline in the video itself. So, but yeah, so let me go ahead and give you guys a quick tour of the office or the warehouse, office/warehouse. So this is a small office that we have. This office is about maybe 100 or 200 square feet. It's more than enough space for us to be able to have a few desks. That's my desk, Mark's. June also works with me. This is the warehouse that we have right now. And then I'll show you guys the other business that I'm in and making money is actually furniture or specifically couches. So me and Mark, we buy and sell couches either from pre-owned or we buy them other resellers and we sell them to customers. And it's a lucrative business. I'm not going to share too much about it right now, but the plan is we're actually going to buy a bunch of tall and big shelves where these can be stored because we want to utilize the space a lot better. So this is pretty much the entire space. Now we have all our other stuff here, but this is all our stuff for TRICORE. So I've been doing this business for about 8 years now. And that one I actually did, how it was founded was I was generate leads for dental offices. I found out that you can charge back then $100, $150 per lead. Nowadays we charge about $200 to $250, sometimes $300, depending on the type of case that that patient wants, is looking for when it comes to dental offices. Because we could charge that much because dental office specifically can make minimum of $1,000 on each patient and up to $20,000, $30,000 on a case. Like if they're doing a bunch of implants, veneers, it's all cosmetic. Yeah, they're gonna be racking in a lot of money. I also guarantee that the patient will come in. Like it's my responsibility to make sure that that patient comes in. Once the patient gets the treatment done, then that's when the dental office pays me. I have to make sure that whoever I'm sending the lead to is gonna make money before I even get paid. And then if they decide to not pay me, then obviously that they're never going to get that again. There's a lot of trust involved in this business. You have to be able to have good relationships with the dental practices. Make sure you only work with good, reputable, 5-star dental offices. Not only do I generate leads for dental offices, I also host health events. So when I go out to corporations, I represent TRICORE, and then I in turn also bring a bunch of different vendors in. For each event, I try to bring at least 10 to 15, sometimes 20 vendors, depending on how many employees that they have. If they have over 300 employees at the location and then all of them are going to participate, I have to have at least 15 to 20 vendors. And then for that one, for the event itself, I actually charge between $200 to $300 per table. That also works out because, again, my thing is whenever I establish a business or I try to start something, especially if it's businesses, I have to make sure that they're going to make money first and foremost. I have to make sure that it's lucrative for them, and then I in turn make money off of that. There's no way I can continue this business for the last 8 years if the vendors that pay me $200, $300, they don't make their money back. They're gonna have a bad taste in their mouth, and they're not gonna return and use my services again because they know that they're just losing money. So, but every time that I do an event, my goal is to make sure that that vendor at least makes 2 to 3 times, sometimes, again, depending on the type of services they're offering, right? Like, because I deal with insurance companies, I deal with medical offices, I deal with orthopedic, like everything and everything that deals with health and wellness. It's the type of events that I do focus on. So those are the industries that I bring into these corporations, and depending on what they do, they have to be able to make at least, at a minimum, I would like them to make 3 times what their investment is, right? So that's my goal. If they make more than that, that's great, right? But I kind of see that that's the sweet spot where they're willing to repeat with me. Whatever they spend for the event, they get it back at least 3 times. If you guys are interested, I'll show you guys how to start your own events company. It takes a little bit longer to make money on it, but the longer it is, the more money you make, because Obviously the vendors repeat, the corporations that you dealt business with last year, they're gonna repeat, and then you just keep adding on new companies. It's a little bit slower, but there is a ton of money to be made, because obviously you're making money from generating leads. Like imagine, like I'll give you an example. Like if we do one event for the week, if I have 10 or 15, let's say 10 vendors, right? And I charge $200 per vendor, that's already $2,000 for that. And then if I generate 50 leads, right? So, but not all of those convert. Out of the 50 leads, let's say I have 10 solid leads, and then I charge another $200 per lead. So that's essentially $4,000 for one day of work. And we do about 2 to 3 events per week. Right now, that's how many events that we do on average. It's pretty much crazier during the summer though. That's like almost every day we're doing something. But again, if that's something that you want to get into, I'll share it in a future video, but I'll also share highlights of it and what we do in this video as far as doing health events. So continuing on, here is some stuff that we've also done in the past. Like I mentioned, we were doing clothing. We were also doing a bunch of face masks during COVID. So we had a bunch of tables. So these are all table legs, if that's the right terminology for it. Here's some equipment. There's some here that's for like screen printing. When it came to clothing, we did mostly direct to garment. If you're not familiar with that, you can just search it on Google or search it on YouTube, direct to garment. But yeah, this we tried doing screen printing, because for screen printing, you can actually do very small print when it comes to labels and stuff like that. Like that's why I was interested in doing screen printing. But obviously all this stuff is done. It's too low of a margin in my opinion. Like if you're getting into clothing, it's very thin margins. If you are selling to other resellers, if you're doing clothing for yourself and you're selling your own brand and you're creating your own brand and you're creating a community for your brand, you can make tons of money. But it's so hard to build that community. It's so hard, and it's a very competitive industry, as you guys all know. I'm pretty sure. Like if you go to a store, how many clothing brands are there? If you're wholesaling, like what I was doing, I was dealing with other resellers. The margins were really thin, or 10 to 15%, and then errors cost me that 10, 15%, so it wasn't worth it. But when it came to selling direct to customers, yeah, that one we can make a ton of money on. That one's like 50% margins. Here, let me see. I know I have some face masks here. I don't know where I put it though. Here, give me a second. Let me try to find it, okay? So yeah, so here are the sewing machines that we had. Back then, we probably had about 15 sewing machines, maybe even 20. We couldn't order face masks back then, so we learned how to sew ourselves. We learned how to source different materials, started sewing our own face masks and selling them on Etsy, I forget if we sold on Amazon, but yeah. And then here are the different vinyls that we were using when we were doing clothing, and also for masks and stickers. You can definitely create stickers out of that too. But here, I'm trying to find where is the masks. That's the one. I know I had a small. Oh, here it is. So these were all the face masks that we were doing. So these were all the samples. Like we would create one, we would print it. So we were doing, again, if you guys are not familiar with it, there's a way to print on. This is polyester, and the best way to print on polyester is sublimation. And it's one of the best ways to print. Like the details are crazy, like, and then the quality is super nice. And then what we were doing is we allowed the customers to send us the design, and we just printed it. They sent us the design and we printed them whatever they're looking for. So yeah, that's the face masks. And here is other things that we were doing. Like I said, we were in ECOM, heavily in ECOM. I don't know why I kept these, but I'm sort of glad that I did, because it kind of brings me back memories on when we were heavily in ECOM. These were cosmetic mirrors. At one point, yeah, these were really hard to keep in stock. This was before COVID, okay? So we were doing this prior to COVID. I'll upload some videos from back in the day when we were trying to create content then. But yeah, and then COVID hit and it's kind of just smashed this business. So we had to transition. So when we were doing this, it was working out, it was great. And then COVID hit. No one cared for any of this stuff anymore at that time, really, right? Like they all cared about, like the biggest thing was they wanted face masks. Like that's all they cared about, was we need face masks. When you're thinking about spending energy, spending time, which one produces the best results with the shortest amount of time and the highest returns? And so we pivoted from selling those things to face masks. But I kept a lot of the stuff that we still had. We didn't have too many things anymore. We still continue to sell it, but we didn't rebuy. So anything that we had left was overstock. So when I first saw, I was like, damn, I wasted space and storage for this stuff. But I'm actually kind of glad that I kept it. Kind of brings me back memories. But let me go ahead and share other things that we were selling. It wasn't just that, right? Another thing that was super crazy back during COVID, and man, it was really expensive. So if you buy these at the store, these are elastic bands, the ones that go behind your ear. I think a roll is supposed to be $5 or $10 back then. When COVID hit, these were selling for like $50, $60 for a roll. So anytime we found someone that had them, we would just buy it up because yeah, it would just sell out and like no one would have them. That's why the prices skyrocketed. So yeah, these are all the supplies in there. Again, like we had a bunch of rolls. Great times. Well, not great times. I shouldn't say great times. It was a horrible time for the economy and the people, but it was really good for business. When drastic things happen, like I remember that time I said, man, there's way. I know everything's getting shut down, and it was hard to get any products like for ECOM, and we had to figure out a way how to make money, right? And then I said, okay, what's in demand right now? Like there's a few things that are in demand, like the masks, the hand sanitizers, and like gloves, or anything that had to do with medical stuff. That was like super in demand. So we had to figure out a way, or which one of those that we can potentially get in and make ourselves. And the first thing what I wanted to do was do hand sanitizers, because those were like selling crazy too back in the day. But it was just, you needed a machine, you know, you needed to get the proper mixtures and everything to make hand sanitizers. And we were like, man, let's do masks, let's try masks. And the crazy thing about that when we did masks was the timing was perfect, because on the news back then they said, oh, you can only wear N95. I don't know if, yeah, I'm pretty sure you guys remember that. Like you can only wear N95 masks. And when the news broke out and they said even cloth masks are gonna work and it's better than having nothing, that's when our sales just went like just skyrocketed. Because then yeah, like everyone was willing to buy even cotton masks, and that's when we were just hammering them out like crazy. We were making a ton of money. Like in that business alone, we probably made over $1 million for sure. We made over $1 million in sales. I'll try to pull up some documentation on it if I can, because we were doing mostly on Etsy. Yeah, so we killed it with that. Like on Etsy alone, I know for sure we did over 500,000 on Etsy alone. But yeah, so let me continue on. So here are the other things that we were doing. Yeah, so here are cosmetic stuff. Oh shoot. Cosmetic brushes. Here's some lights. So everything that we bought, here's some pet stuff. Everything that we initially bought like a very small amount of supplies, like maybe 100 units, and then if it sold, then we just went crazy on it and bought as much as we can. When it comes to e-com, like if you find a hot product, I go crazy on it. I just invest heavily in it, and I ride the wave as much as I can. So there are more things, some portable chargers, some Bluetooth speakers. We had these and some wooden ones. I still remember those because those made good money too. It's such a simple thing, but it made money. Tons of headphones. These are Bluetooth headphones for athletic use. Back then, these were pretty cool. Now it's probably like, I don't know, it's all right now. Some bootleg AirPods. What else do we have here? Oh, here. A portable Apple Watch charger. These were actually really good, and it's good quality. I'm not trying to sell it to you now, but yeah, if you find them, these are pretty good. Until now, it's still useful. It's pretty old already, but until this day, it's still a useful product. But yeah, so here are those are all the things that we were selling. I just kept a bunch of it. We had a bunch of cell phone cases, like those, I think that whole box is cell phone cases, iPhone 10s, I think, and Samsungs. And that one, I just don't know. Like all this stuff is all e-com stuff. This one's a brush, as simple as it is, this made a ton of money. I think this was only 20 cents or 30 cents, but we were selling it for $5, I think. Yeah, so we just had a bunch of stuff. But anyway, that's it. That's all the e-com stuff that I kept. I think we threw away a lot of it too. But I just kept some of it, I think, from what I remember. But anyway, so how I got into the VA business was actually through e-com. because there was a point when we were buying so much stuff and then the competition became so fierce that we needed to have a faster research, better research than everyone else. So we started leveraging VAs to be able to find products for us, list products, do customer service, respond to inquiries, even sourcing products, creating contracts with these vendors. So there were sellers that we had to reach out to. They would do all the footwork with that, and then they would get back to me, let me know, okay, this product is ready, this is the turnaround time, etc. And yeah, so they helped me out with that. And then I discovered that, man, VA services is actually very helpful for other businesses, but I didn't start offering the VA services until 3 years ago. That was the only time I started it. However, VAs have always been a part of my business after that. Like once I discovered that 7 years ago, I used it for everything else, creating events, anything and everything that we got into at the time. I use VAs, I leverage VAs because it's a really cheap way to get labor and have work output multiplied significantly for the same cost of one employee here. So if I could hire a VA versus someone here in the United States, unfortunately, yeah, I'm gonna hire a VA just because it just makes sense. Like, it drops my cost, it multiplies my effort, and ultimately it helps the bottom line of the business, right? So without further delay, I'm gonna actually get into it now on how you can potentially start your own virtual staffing company. Or if you don't want to necessarily do virtual staffing and you just want to know how to incorporate virtual staffing into your own business, this will work too. This will give you all the information that you need, how to monitor them, how to manage them, what wages should you be paying, how to pay them, and all that information. So if it's a business you want to get into, it's a very lucrative business. I did $500,000 last year. This is actually the 5th time or 6th time I tried to record this thing, and every time I try to record it, I end up stopping and something comes up, because even for this right now, I'm at like 25 minutes just looking at this thing. Like, it's very time consuming. It's a lot of information, but yeah, so if you wanted to make $500,000 like I did, I'll show you guys that portion. I pre-recorded that, but I don't want to record it again. So let's get right into it. For me personally, it's something I've been doing for the past 3 years as far as selling the services. And last year we did about 500,000. I think this year we're headed to do about 600 or 650,000. But let me not just talk about it. Let me actually show you guys. I'm going to be recording my screen here on my phone as far as what we did and the revenues that we made last year and what we're doing currently. So pulling up the app, I do all my transactions via Square. That's what I have attached to my personal site and how we invoice people, or how we invoice our clients. But before that, let me go ahead and see if I have any money in here. As you can see, I made a few deposits already just for the month of May. I did one yesterday for 9,800. Did one in the beginning of the month for 73. And then, yeah. So right now I have $9,000 in there. Transfer it out. I'll do the instant transfer. 91113. Next. Yep. So 8,000 goes into my account. Now I'm broke on my Square account. $0. Okay. But anyway, so let me go into the reports itself. So if I pull that up, when I go to sales, let's do the previous year, right? So I'm gonna pull up I'm gonna pull up the previous year in 2023. The first year I didn't do that good. I think I did about 60,000 or 70,000 for the year, because I was figuring a lot of stuff out. But then by last year, I kind of knew exactly what I was doing, but experienced a plateau in growth. So like I said, last year we did about 500,000 in gross sales. I had one client or maybe two that decided that it's not for them, which is okay, that's what you see in the returns. And then for the current year, let me see here. The current year, January to, what's today, May 15th. And as you can see, year to date, we're about 171,000. So now I'm gonna go right into it as far as starting your own VA business, okay? So first off is sourcing the VAs, right? So you need to know where to source VAs, where to find them, where to hire them, and the process of interviewing, all that stuff. So I personally like to hire my VAs from the Philippines. English is a second language over there. Almost everyone does understand and speak English pretty well. You can source from other places like India, China, Indonesia. Like there's a bunch of other places obviously you can source people, depending on the type of work you're gonna have them do. If you're gonna have them speaking to clients or customers. Yeah, I personally prefer just Philippines. Some of them speak English pretty well. I'll actually upload some of the interviews that I've done, show you guys, how that goes, how they sound, how they speak. But that I'm gonna hide their faces because I didn't actually ask their approval if I can post it on YouTube or whatever. But yeah, I just out of respect, I don't want to post it because I never got their approval. But at least you guys will get an idea of how they speak and how my meetings go with some of my staff.
Yes, sir. One moment. Good morning.
Hello, good morning. How are you guys doing, or how are you ladies doing?
Great, sir.
Okay, good. I know it's not normal that I join your meetings.
And I think they're applying that. I know they are because, yeah, if you listen to their calls, they address the person on the other line.
Representative that I can speak to when it comes to referring to corporate. So when I dial the corporate, most of the
How about you, Doc? I see that you are.
I think we're on the same page.
Should help more focus on dental. It has a lot of industries, but I mean,
So how I personally source VAs is through onlinejobs.ph. There is a subscription fee. I believe it's $60 if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think it's $60 a month if I'm not mistaken. So that's where I initially found one of my first few VAs. And then from there, I specifically hired VAs who knew other VAs, right? Like who had managerial experience, who had sales experience, who knew how to recruit. Because the purpose of me starting the VA business was to recruit and build a business out of it. So that was one of the qualities that I look for. So when I started scouting and looking for employees, that was my first requirement is, do you like if I were to hire you, how many other VAs can you potentially bring in? Luckily, I found someone really, really good, and now actually one of my business partners in the Philippines. She's my president. Her name is Elaine. So she is one of the people that helped me grow this business from nothing. I also have a VP, Jennifer. So she helps me also with as far as the training goes. She does all the training materials, systems, monitoring everything. So yeah, so those are the two ladies that I work with that I heavily rely on in making this business work. That's why I consider them business partners now. What are the tools that you'll probably need, right? So if ever you wanted to get into the VA business, these are the specific tools that you may or may not need depending on what you're going to be doing, right? So TRAQQ is a way to be able to see what your VAs are doing on a daily basis. It pretty much does a screenshot of their computer live. It gives you an update, and it gives you a report at the end of the day as far as what websites they were looking at, how long were they there, how long, if there was inactivity time. So if there's downtime where they're not doing anything, it actually shows you. So for me personally, I try to keep that level at about 75 to 80%. So most of the time, whenever I look at these reports, my VAs are working, right? So that's a big benefit of working with VAs. Let's be realistic, right? So if you own a business here and you have them do administrative stuff or calling or whatever, if you hired someone here and you hire them for 8 hours, there's going to be a lot of times when they're just on Facebook or they're just on Instagram. Like there's a lot of downtime that they don't really do any work. When you offer VAs or whenever you work with a VA, like whatever hours that you hire them for or whatever hours you offer them for, usually that's what they're going to do, right? Like it's very seldom that they won't work that many hours because they're being monitored and you're able to see their activity. So Track is one of them that is what I use. You'll need Zoom. I use Zoom for meetings. Google Remote Desktop. There's also other ways to remote into other desktops, but I'm okay with using Google Chrome or Google Remote Desktop because I actually, for what I do is I need to have certain passwords also saved onto the desktop for certain tasks that my VAs are doing for dental offices. So I tell them to set it up on a particular Google account or Gmail so that they don't, they put in all the passwords there and they don't have to provide the passwords to my VA. All they have to do is remote into that desktop that the Google remote is assigned to. And then once they launch a browser and all the stuff is in there already. So they do their insurance verification or whatnot without having to gain access to any passwords. Nextiva is what I use for phones. So my VAs do make phone calls. They receive phone calls. So that's what I use. It's a voice over IP. For that one, I pay about, I think $20 to $25 per line. You have the power to record the conversations. You have analytic reports. There's a lot of data that comes with using their service. They also have a CRM attached to it. I haven't used it specifically. I do everything through Sales Genie. So that's another software that I'm using. They have a CRM somewhat attached to that. So that's what I use. Sales Genie is a website that I use to be able to help me find different companies to target. The phone numbers are there, the address is there. I use it for both my health events and also for finding dental offices. So whenever I'm looking for another office to target, we call them, right? We do cold calls and emails, and a lot of that data is already there on Sales Genie. So those are the basic tools. I'm trying to remember if I'm missing anything, but those are the ones that I can remember off the top of my, from what I know, that's what we're using. It allows me to be able to track my VAs, know what they're doing on a daily basis. And I'm able to hear what they're saying, like I'm able to really observe them very well. And then I have other lead members or now partners that monitor them also. So essentially it's an automated business. Like I just get a report at the end of the day and kind of want to know like how things are going. Obviously it doesn't start off that way, right? I had to provide the training in the beginning. I had to source and find people in the beginning and create a system that worked because like it pretty much runs on its own now. I just monitor everything and make sure that we're hitting numbers properly. If there's challenges, if they're not converting sales, if we lose customers, like those are the things that I focus on now. Business development, growing the business, and cutting costs if there's any cost that needs to be cut, and improving everything, improving the service overall. Like I don't deal with the logistics anymore. I let my partners in the Philippines do that. As far as advertising goes, it's pretty simple. I do a lot of cold calling because I leverage Sales Genie with that, and then I also do cold emails. Or sometimes it's warm. If they're interested, they'll ask for emails to be sent, and we have a pretty detailed proposal on the services that we offer, the cost and everything. So we also send emails, and we also run ads, right? So we also run ads on Facebook, we run ads on Google Ads, we do it on Instagram. So any platform that we can run ads on, we pretty much run it, and that's how we generate customers. So what are the benefits of offering like a VA service, right? There's a lot of things like it solves a lot of problems. Like it really does. Like that's the benefit of having a VA. It does solve a lot of administrative problems. It solves a lot of the overhead costs. Like imagine you can hire 5 VAs for one person here. Like depending on where you are, where you're located. Like here in California, minimum wage is I think 15 or 16 bucks. It might be even higher, because I don't pay anyone minimum wage. Each of my VAs, I normally start them at about $3 to $4. So if if you calculate that, I can pretty much get 5 VAs for the cost of one person here. Just think about that, right? Like how powerful that is, how impactful that would be. And these are not entry level like employees. These are like a lot of them are managers. A lot of them are supervisors. A lot of people that I actually now I hire people. They have to have some type of supervisor experience, sales experience. I don't hire new VAs. The only time that I do hire new VAs is when they're dentists. So there's dentists that I hire that are in the Philippines. Obviously they have their own profession, which is a dentist, and when they're new to the VA industry. That's the only time. But obviously they're already a professional. They're already a doctor, and I just have to teach them how to translate their work from in person to how to be able to leverage that information and their knowledge and their expertise in the virtual space. So again, at $3-4 an hour, you're getting multiple people versus just one. High profit margins. So for every person that you hire, you can pretty much double the cost, or offer it at double the cost as a service. So whenever you hire someone for $3, if you place them with a dental office, I normally charge between $6, $7, $8 depending on how many hours that they need them for, how many VAs that they need. Like I'm a little bit flexible on the pricing structure. Yeah, that's pretty much it. If ever you wanted to start a virtual staffing company, it's very basic. This isn't a deep dive into it, but it gives you enough information to be able to start, right? Like it gives you an idea where to source them, how much you should be paying a VA if ever you were to try to get VAs. For sure, you shouldn't be paying more than $4, right? Depending on what you're having them do. Like my dentist, I try to pay them at least $5 an hour. So if I have a dentist in my staffing, and that's the type of VAs that the dental practice wants. They want dentists in the Philippines because they're doing insurance verification. They obviously need to understand the different treatment planning. Like they have to understand the terminologies, right? And you only know that if you're a dentist or if you're in the field of dentistry. So I pay them $5 an hour, $4 to $5 an hour minimum. And then obviously my fee for that, again, it has to be double. Whatever I pay my VAs, I have to charge double because there's also other costs associated, right? Like advertising isn't for free, right? Like I pay for their overtime if there is any overtime. I pay for their equipment if they need equipment. I pay for all the different softwares that we're using, right? When it comes to Sales Genie, I pay for that. Those are all costs that I take on. I don't pass it on to the customer. So yeah, I have to charge enough where I can take on those costs and pay it without having to pass it over to the customer. Let's look at what potential profits are if ever you do run a virtual staffing company. For me personally, last year it was $500,000 in net sales. Of that, I think I brought home about 175 to 180, $50 to $60,000 was used towards expenses. I also have my own staff, right, that I pay for that needs to be on payroll. I don't assign them to an office. They just work for me. Someone handles my marketing. I have a sales team. Yeah, that's where that money goes to. So again, out of the 500,000, I brought home about 180,000, 175 to 180,000. Obviously, if I did $1 million, I'm probably looking at about 400,000. That's in my pocket now. So it's about 40%. You shouldn't be lower than 40%. Obviously, in any business, if you wanted to, you can offer it a lot cheaper. But it's already cheap enough, like in my opinion, and then at the same time, like, again, like in any business that I get involved in, my priority, my main goal outside of just making money, like that's my last thing that I want to worry about. Obviously, profit margins, I always look at profit margins, right? The profit margins have to be at least 30% or greater. That's okay with me. But once I know that that's possible, the next thing that I focus on is customer service. I have to be able to make sure that my customer is getting way more than what he's paying for. Like the value has to be there. Like if you're not offering more value, meaning like I train my VAs, right? So whenever I hand them off to a dental office, these guys already know what to do. They know exactly the task that has to be done. They're reliable, right? They don't call in sick. And even if they do, I also have backup staff who can cover for them. The level of service that I offer is it's premier. Like it's at the top of the top. Like I only offer services as far as what I would expect. So if I hired a VA company, if I hired a VA, I would kind of be unreasonable. Like, all right, I don't want them calling sick. I want them to work for me 8 hours a day. I want to make sure that they're working 70% or 80% of the time. I want to pay, whatever the lowest amount possible. And I want them to produce results. And that's my requirements. They have to do all those things before I consider them like a VA that's worth transferring over or assigning to an office. So yeah, like I take that on before I even consider getting paid. I have to make sure that I'm going to be able to deliver that, deliver a VA services at the highest level possible before I charge any money. I'm trying to think. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. I'm going to edit this video, and if I find something else that I think I should add or elaborate on, I probably will. This is probably the first of many VA videos that I'm going to be making. And hopefully it'll help other people to be able to either start their own VA business or know how to incorporate VAs into their existing business. So again, one of the biggest qualities and what differentiates me from other VA businesses is I train my VAs, right? Like I'm not an agency. There's a lot of agencies out there where they'll help you find a VA and then they just leave it up to the company to train them and whatever, right? Like I don't do that. Like it's my responsibility. Like if I give a VA to you, they're fully trained. If you're unhappy with them, I replace them and assign you a new VA. If they call in sick, I find someone to replace them for the day. If they go on vacation, there's going to be someone to replace them for that time. There's a lot of things that I take on just to make sure that I offer the highest quality of service to each customer. And if you are going to start a VA business, that should be your number one priority. If you don't prioritize that, you will lose clients. And it doesn't matter if you charge the cheapest, if you don't prioritize customer service, like it's going to cost you because you're not going to be able to retain customers. Like if, as you saw, like I did $500,000 last year, and I think I did one or two returns because it just and the reasons for the returns was it didn't make sense for their business at the time. Like they don't have enough clients, or they don't know how to utilize them properly. It just didn't make sense for them that way. But everything else, like I have very low turnover ratio. Like most of the clients that I had last year, I still have this year. And then even for the ones that the industries that I don't want to be involved in anymore, it's my choice to be like, hey, you know what, it's your industry is ever evolving. I'm not going to continue recruiting people for that industry anymore. So if ever you're not unhappy with that VA, I'm not going to be able to replace them. So I told that to the customers that I have now, and they're okay with it. So some of them, are sticking with the VAs that they have. But again, if they ever decide that they're not happy with the VA anymore and they want to replace them, because for whatever reason, obviously I'm not going to be able to replace them because I'm not focusing on the industry. And that's what was tough with the VA business when I first started. Was I was a little bit greedy, I guess, because I was like, man, this VA stuff can work for anyone and everyone, right? Like I can offer VA services to anyone that needs administrative work, that needs work that can be done remotely. I can sell a VA service to them. But the problem is that I didn't anticipate is, again, if my focus is on customer service, I have to know that industry. So for example, I was dealing with solar companies, and I didn't know, a lot about solar industry. Like I don't know what it is, what like the software that they use. I don't know about like electricity usage, wattage usage. Like I don't know any of that stuff. So I had to learn it so that I can train it to my VAs so that they can have a knowledgeable conversation with my clients, and understand what the terms are. And whenever they're speaking to the clients, the customers of the clients, right? If they're doing customer service, then they're not sounding like they don't know what they're talking about. So yeah, so I was doing that for solar companies. I was doing that for real estate companies. I was doing that for insurance companies. The auto, like all that stuff is easy. The auto one's a little bit easier, but yeah, when it's a niche type of industry, my company has to know it so that I can train my VAs accordingly. But again, it just takes too much time. It's going to be harder for me to scale it if I do it that way. That's why I was like, I'm going to cut everything out. I'm going to focus on a particular niche, which you should do too, if ever. Like you should just do one or two niches at most, because you have to be the best and the expert of that industry for you to be able to provide the best VAs for those type of companies. So again, if I missed anything, I think that's it. If I missed anything, I'm going to upload a second video. If you guys have any more questions as far as VAs, please do put it in the comments. If you're curious to what the name of the VA services or the VA company that I have, it's TRICORE ENT. So if ever you visit the website, it's TRICORE ENT. However, I started a new site this year, and it's under Virtual Smile Solutions. So that is the one that is specifically tailored just for dental offices. Again, if I missed anything, I'm definitely gonna upload it and share it with you guys, and I hope to be able to help someone out. If you guys have any questions, please post it in the comments, and I'll answer them. I'll reply to them. If you guys wanna, shoot us a inquiry via email, I'll go ahead and put that too. And yeah, I'm definitely willing to help people out and get into this industry and provide the best VA services out there. But yeah, that's it. I'll see you guys in the next one.